What's happening, filmmakers? It's George VK. But today I wanted to talk to you about false beliefs that we have as human beings, but also particularly as filmmakers, because we tend to get into our artistic brain, and our artistic brain ends up trying to protect us from failure, from judgment, from fear of judgment from others, all those things that we want to stay in the comfort zone, right? We want to be in our normal world. But in order to break out and reach the level that we want, we've got to exit that comfort zone. We got to leave our comfortable place and do hard things. And that is exactly what I did when I was faced with a decision of whether or not to sign up for the 48-hour film race a couple months back. Now, if you don't know what a film race is, it's basically a filmmaking competition where you're given a genre that you pull out of a hat randomly. And then you get typically 3 elements. So a character that has to be included in your script, a prop that a character has to use, hold, or it has to be in the shot, and a line of dialogue that has to be included as well. That's how they know, if you include all those 3 elements, that you actually shot that film in that 48-hour time frame. So your role is to write, shoot, and edit and submit that film in under 48 hours, which is no easy task. And I have done dozens and dozens of film races over the last 14 years that I've been doing this thing. And let me tell you, I have learned a whole lot. The very first one I did was a 24-hour film race. The very recent one that I did was 48 hours, and I almost didn't register a team. Why? Because of the pandemic, right? The people are a lot more careful, understandably, about gathering and large crews and enclosed spaces and whatnot. So there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of unknown, but I really wanted to challenge myself as a writer and a director, because I usually default to being a director of photography or simply producing the project. And this time I really wanted to try my hand at writing and directing a film race. Now, I've written and I've directed projects in the past, but they didn't have nearly as much of a time constraint as a film race does. So I tossed back and forth. I didn't know if I was going to do it. I missed the early bird special, which is a discounted rate for your submission fee to register a team. And at the very last minute, I ended up registering because I just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try my best to gather a team. And one of the reasons that I went back and forth was because I had a sound operator, a sound engineer, and a director of photography lined up, as well as a couple of other crew members that were very key and very important to how I felt like I wanted to run the film set. And then my sound mixer and my DP ended up dropping out and going to a different team. I was pissed, to say the least, right? I mean, how do you deal with the situation when the crew that you're not paying, so you can't really, fire them, or you can't force them to come and work for you because they're working for free. And so it is a favor that they're doing to you. But when you make a commitment and then the 2 crew members leave, I was so distraught. I was just, I had such high expectations because it's been a while since I've done a film race, and I really wanted to challenge myself by writing it and directing it because I've never done it under pressure of limited time. In the end, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do it because I decided that I'm going to unapologetically go forward. Even if I was the only person on crew, it was going to happen either way. So I ended up casting 3 amazing actors that I've worked with in the past. And the day of the competition, after we got our genre and the 3 elements of prop, character, and line of dialogue, we get to the location, and one of my crew members who I was going to have run the audio, basically holding the boom and doing the sound mixing, he had a family emergency, so he couldn't show up. So in that moment, I turned to my wife and I say, "You're going to have to run sound." And she has never held a boom mic in her life. So I didn't even have the time to sort of coach her through the best practices of running a boom with a shotgun mic on the end. But she did amazing. And I also had an art director and myself. So now I was going to be writing, directing, being the director of photography as well, doing the lighting and all of those things while my wife was running sound. My production designer was kind of, creating the environment that these characters were going to be in, and 3 actors. That was it. A really tiny crew, really bare bones. I ended up finding a really cool location to shoot in. That was something that really helped out because it truly sold that story. And long story short, we get into the best of screening, which means that they screen the films that they consider to be the best out of, 40 plus something teams that were here locally in Denver. And that was our first win, is get the best of screening, right? Secondly, we ended up taking 2nd place overall. We got best actor for the lead actor in our film, and we got best writing for the script that was written under, a couple of hours in order to have it ready for the actual shooting day. So, my wife and I brainstormed after we got our assignment. We got horror. The character was a city employee named Alex. The line of dialogue was, "I love it. What is it?" And the prop was a calendar, just to give you an idea. So we came up with this story really quickly because we were just bouncing ideas back and forth. And that was a really cool experience to brainstorm with somebody instead of, by yourself alone with a blank piece of paper and you're trying to come up with what this character wants. What is their true desire? What is the conflict that's going to prevent them or try to prevent them from getting that thing that they want? What are all the different plot lines? What are the other characters doing? How are they interacting with that character in your story? And then I sat down and over probably a couple of hours, I struck out on the keyboard and wrote out the script really quick, sent it off to the team, got some feedback, did a couple of revisions. And then the following day in the morning, we sat down, did a quick read through of the script, make sure everybody understood what their character was, understood what sort of the tone and the mood of each scene was, what their relationships were between the different characters. And then we just started picking our location, dressing the set, lighting it, figuring out different shots from the shot list that I had quickly written out. Because when you only have 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit a film, you really have to make intentional decisions and very determined decisions. You don't have time to dilly-dally or to, try things out. You really have to be purposeful and intentional in your decisions. So that's exactly what I did. I knew what I wanted. The actors were amazing. My crew was amazing. And we got it done. And it really paid off because, on a skeleton crew with a tiny, tiny, minuscule budget, the submission fee was $180. I spent $90 for lunch to feed everybody because we shot in a span of about 6 hours total in the space, because as soon as we got back, I started editing and then finished the following day. And the set design pieces and, all the different elements that my production designer bought to dress up the set were about $30. So all in all, a commitment of about $300, 48 hours. And we had a winning film that we produced, that we wrote, we shot, and we edited. And I'm really proud of this film. It's called Spiral. I'll make sure to have a link down below if you want to check it out. Please let me know what you think. Obviously, keep in mind that it was shot under $300 with a skeleton crew under 48 hours. I actually had to fly out for a different job on the final day that we were actually going to be submitting the film. So I had to get post-production done really quickly, really quick and dirty, color correction, really fast integration of the music, sound design, audio sweetening, all those things that make a really polished, finished package. Actually, it was way under 48 hours. I actually finished about 6 or 7 hours before the actual deadline to upload your film. So if you take anything away from this is know that the belief of I need, months and months of planning and then, weeks of production and then months or even years of post-production, it's just not true. You can finish a really good film project, whatever kind of video you're working on. Doesn't have to be narrative. It could be a documentary, a commercial, all of those things. But it really pays to understand the concepts and to really and truly be committed to those intentional decisions that you make. And you don't have to spend thousands of dollars in order to complete a film. You really can go very bare bones, especially in times of, hardship or, the pandemic, when you're kind of limited on your resources. You have to know how to be resourceful instead of focusing on the resources that you don't have. You don't need a cinema camera. You don't need that expensive light. All you need is a couple of things to really make it work. And if you put story first and you spend more time on the brainstorming, on your character's desire, the conflict, who your character truly is, that's when you're really going to succeed. And that's when you're going to really start to level up your filmmaking craft, because story comes first, right? So if you would like to find out more, I have a free training that I go really in depth on all of these aspects. And you can find that at filmmakersecrets.com/free, FREE. So filmmakersecrets.com/free. Go there, get signed up for the training. And I promise you're going to get a lot out of it. There's going to be a link down below to the webinar as well. This is something that's going to truly help you out, I believe. So don't hesitate. Get signed up. It's free, so it doesn't cost you anything but a couple hours of your time. filmmakersecrets.com/free. I'll see you in there.